any other driver in the history of the sport. Despite this, he has generally struggled to convert his poles into wins.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to NFR. Welcome back to DRS. It's Thursday night. We are in season 11, round 3, and we're at Albert Park. For many seasons, F1 had its season opener. Quite a lot of runners, 16 runners in the field. Of course, here at DRS we run the full quali session, so that means you're going to have 3 sessions, Q1, Q2 and Q3. In Q1 and 2 we are supposed to lose 5 drivers in each session. We only have the 16 drivers, so just the 1 driver will be at risk in this session. And then Q2, a lot more to play for. And then of course Q3, a super pole of sorts. So a few drivers already out on track. Here is Kev, one of the 2 Alpines, the other Alpine also out on track, Dan Ritfeld. Both Aston Martins also out on track early on. Everyone just wanting to get a benchmark, get a feel for the circuit. We'll actually just have a look who's using. Everybody's on the soft. Sometimes what you see in Q1, when there's not too much at play, you'll see somebody going out on a set of mediums, something like that, but everybody out on softs. And Kurbis will be one of the first drivers to start his quick lap. Just behind him, his teammate. Welcome to everyone in the comment section, good to have you. Zeppo, Panda, Marie, Shane, people joining early on, even though it's only Q1, long way to go. Of course, the Aston Martin team in real life, they had an amazing season last season, but this season has been in the serious decline. Luckily for these two, they don't need to worry about Aston Martin's current form, because all the cars are set to equal. We're just going off the circuit there onto the grass. No lap times on our screens just yet. It's one of the 2 RBs. This is Rota. The other RB, Nam Assassin, also on an outlap. Kurbis becomes the first man to set a lap time at a 1:17.1. His teammate would have been just behind him, but we saw him go off onto the grass, so he'll abandon that run. Dan Ritfeld up into P2. We're now starting to see the lap times come in. This is Rota. Kevin the Alpine, he's about to go over the line. Goes up into P5, it's a 1:18.2. Kurbis still quickest. Shane has gone up into P2. Sigrid up into P3. And Ritfeld down to P4, and then Kev P5. So the 2 Alpines, 4 and 5. Cowboy doesn't seem like a representative lap, that's a 1:21.0. He's just getting going. A long way to go in the session. Of course, if the lap looks fairly off, it's usually because they backed off, and if there's no lap at all, it's because it was invalidated. One of the benefits of having a full quali session is that it's not as much of a rush. Of course, in short quali get approximately 3 runs, 4 runs, depending on the circuit. And sometimes you mess up those initial runs, and as the session goes on, the pressure mounts. Secret going over the line yet again. That previous lap time was a 17.3. Went around again, didn't improve on that. This game does the weirdest things. Controller keeps on frightening me because every time somebody comes into the pits and a wheel gun is touched, my controller vibrates. So since there's 16 drivers on circuit, it's happening quite often. I have no idea why I'm getting feedback in spectator mode on my controller about the driver's wheels in a pit stop. We go to the rear of the field. The 2 Williams drivers yet to set a lap. Nick Gishin, 0 to cool, both on outlaps. Nick Gishin about to start his first quick lap of the evening. We watch him go over the line. DRS open. Into turn 1. So easy just to use too much curb. In that opening segment, turn 1, turn 2 combination, just take too much curb, you invalidate the whole thing. Looks like we got it just right. Gonna get a bit of traffic now, but I think that was a horse. Got out of the way. When we're talking about tenths of a second, that sort of distraction, just that, what's that over there? What's that driver going to do? That momentary lapse in concentration can always just affect your lap, even if that car doesn't impede you. Nick Gishin, one of the quicker drivers in the field. Yeah, no, it's not a problem. I find it quite funny. It's when a driver comes into the pits, the moment they touch the wheel guns and they take the tires off, my controller vibrates. So I'm getting a full spectator experience. You can't even get that at Sky. You're not going to feel the effects of the wheel gun watching on Sky Sports. Kurbis has retired from the session. I think he's obviously just happy with that lap time and going to take a nice 10-minute break. So far we have Kurbis fastest man, but he has retired. Then Levy P2, Nick Gishin did manage to get a lap in. He went up into the top 3. 17.1, almost identical to the car ahead of him, just 0.02 of a second between Levy and Nick Gishin. Then we have Shane, also not, look at that, that's ridiculous. I've just noticed those gaps in those lap times, and that's ridiculous. So we have 0.06 of a second covering 3 cars. Levy, Nick Gishin and Shane separated by 0.06 of a second. It's pretty crazy. Still full. Is he going slowly? Is he pushing? 0 to cool. He was behind his teammate, but it seems like he was not able to get a lap time down. That's why he's still at the bottom of the field. Hasn't set a lap time. You can see he's got 1 lap old softs. That means he has done a lap, just no lap time came from it. So Must have been invalidated. Gonna have another go at it now. And he goes up into P6. Good results so far for both Williams. Remember, we'll be losing one driver at the end of this session. So long as everybody does well, so long as nobody crashes. Of course, if somebody crashes from the session, then we'll be losing more than one. You cannot come back into qualifying. That's why a lot of the quicker guys, you've seen them come out for one run, you haven't seen much more of them. If you go out there and put on a show in Q1 and happen to make a mistake, you're not going to play any further part in qualifying, and in a field this large, you're giving yourself a bit of a headache. Not too much action out on track at the moment. We're actually looking for the cars, and I think it's only Will and Zero to Cool. Zero to Cool will be on an in lap. Needed 2 laps to get that lap time. Absolutely, the lap times are insanely close. Top 4. But look at those lap times in particular, 2, 3 and 4. It's ridiculous. It's 6 thousandths of a second, not even 600ths, it's 6 thousandths of a second between 3 drivers. Does it even count if your teammate beats you by 6 thousandths? Of course, this session just for a few bragging rights. All of those quicker drivers will know they're safe. Lots of them will have more time in their pocket. How much time, I don't know. But we're only going to find out later in the session, because I don't think anyone is showing all their cards just yet. This is Panda going into the final corner. Let's go over the line to start, or to finish his quick lap. The 117.6 is good enough for P7, and it's good enough to get him through to Q2. That's really all he needs. This Cowboy, I think he will be the car eliminated, because he's got a 121 flat and he was retired from the session. So I think everyone in the top 15 is going through. Cowboy is no longer in the session and cannot improve. I really hope we see these sort of lap times in Q2 and 3. It's insanely close. I mean, it's a good stat when you say 9/10 cover the top 10, but when the top 4 covered by, what is that, 5.5 tenths? It's insane. 5.5 hundredths. Absolutely nothing in it. But I wonder how much those drivers have left in hand. I've always said there is sandbagging. There are drivers that argue with me and say no, they never sandbag, but I've seen evidence that proves otherwise. This is Top Dog in the Red Bull, currently a 118.0, P11. He's out on a final run. You can see most of the field has retired from the session, so he's going to get a lot of camera time. Another man still in the session is Nam Assassin, currently a 119.8. Of course, these drivers will go through, maybe just wanting to get that one last run in to try and prepare themselves for Q2. Levy's still in the session, but he's in the pits. And then we have Fuster. Fuster has actually just joined the session pretty late. There's just under 3 minutes remaining. I wonder if we're going to see him. Yes, he does. He comes out of the pits. He comes out of the pits and he's going to have one run at it. For him, it's going to be a one-shot quali with the addition of a warm-up lap. Of course, there have been many forms of qualifying sessions in Formula One. They've tried many different things. This one seems to be a favorite, but they're stuck. There was even a time where there were two qualifying sessions. They were split into Quali 1 and Quali 2. One happened on a Friday, the other happened on a Saturday. And that was to try and get more people to the track on a Friday. But as you can see from modern F1, that's not needed. Tracks get sold out for the practice session. Just getting it sideways there, trying to get onto that main straight start. His one and only run. Didn't look like he had the tyres up to temperature just yet. The way he came out of the penultimate corner there, car was very squirmy. This is Top Dog. Commentate on another driver with a very similar name, and I have to catch myself every time. This will be Top Dog over the line for what will probably be his final attempt. Does he improve? 1:18.0. Stays at a 1:18.0, goes 3/10 slower than his previous best. But P11 is good enough, and that may have been valuable track time. He may have learned something from that run. No, don't worry, Panda. I'm not saying it's a lobby setting. I'm just saying it's something to do with the game. Never had it before F124. And actually at the beginning of F124 I didn't have it either. I think it's as a result of a patch, and maybe they'll figure out what they've done sometime in the future. Fuster does get a lap time in. It's a 21.0. Look how close that is between him and Cowboy. Cowboy had a 21.06, and Fuster got a 21.00. So Fuster does, no he doesn't. There's 17 runners, so he's not going to go through. It wasn't quick enough. He loses out by, it's not even a tenth. You know what that's mean. So close. But Nam Assassin survives, and he will go through to Q2. There are your results for Q1. Kubus taking the fastest time of 1:17.105. Then we've got Levy P2, Nick Gishin, Shane. We've got Sigrid P5, Zerotpool P6, Panda P7, Dan Ritfeld P8. Then we've got Will and Boinkies making up the top 10. In P11, Top Dog, then Kev, Stoffel, Rota, Nam Assassin, and then eliminated we have Fuster and Cowboy. Game does sometimes come up with funny numbers, but hopefully we do have 15 runners going into Q2. Of course, a lot more at stake in this session. 5 drivers will be eliminated from quali. And that also is going to guarantee them a spot outside the top 10.
Want to know more about what you're watching this weekend?
guys must also let me know in the comment section if you ever want to see more coverage of a certain driver. Just let me know. Sometimes I focus too much on one battle or another. Let's bring up some stats. No need to check the tyre screen, everybody on a set of softs. Shane already out on track, a few cars already out in front of him. He's not the first to get out there. I thought that was Panda, that was the other horse. Stoffel out on track. Look at that. Is that carbon fibre? I hope that wasn't carbon fibre. That's the last place you want to get damaged, is on an outlap. May have just been a bad angle, but I'm pretty sure I saw something flying in the background. That's a very, very busy racetrack at the beginning of Q2. Right there in Sector 2, it's just so busy. Of course, it's up to every driver to make sure they have enough space to do their quali lap. If you start your quali lap on somebody's gearbox, you only have yourself to blame when you inevitably run into trouble. Unfortunately, the further back you are in that queue, things can get really frustrating. Every driver trying to just back up, find some space, and you're at the back. It feels like you're behind a safety car. And that actually did look like a safety car restart. Zero to Cool gets away. Starts his first time lap of Q2. His teammate just up the road from him. 5 grid place penalty for Kev for a collision with Lebby. Lebby is out of the session, so he will start no higher than P15. Considering everybody else does set a lap time, Lebby was one of the quickest men in Q1, so that'll be disappointing. Of course, that's even worse. He gets a 5-second penalty. He has not set a lap time, which means he'll start 15 before the penalty is applied. So he will be starting from P17. A good start for the Ferraris. Hopefully the other Ferrari can fly the flag for the Tifosi, at least in quali. No, Lebby is quick and he can come back in this race. Shane, first man over the line and fastest man over the line temporarily. Nick Gishin over the line, a 1:17.3 goes 2/10 quicker than Shane's initial lap. Then Zero to Cool in the other Williams goes P3 briefly, demoted to P4. Secret up onto the front row. Lap time starting to come in. Difficult to keep track of the positions as I read them out. They get demoted, somebody else sets the lap time. I think that was Stoffel. Was that Stoffel? That was Will, spending some time off the circuit, it appears. Maybe he was just getting out of the way for somebody else. One Assassin. P11, 1:19.2. Lowest of the time drivers so far. This is his teammate in the other RB. Of course, we have both Red Bulls and both RBs here tonight. For some reason, most of the uploads we do on this channel, we always seem to be missing at least one Red Bull. But we've got the teammates here tonight. 17 runners. It adds a different complexity to the race. Remember, sometimes a we never know what we're going to get in the lobby. Sometimes we get 14 runners, sometimes we get 15 runners, but every single extra car is going to make a difference into turn 1. These cars are big, they're heavy, and for every extra driver, there's an extra potential mistake. Of course, if that mistake comes from somebody at the front of the field, you can have a domino effect where multiple drivers find damage. Things can get really messy, but as we saw in SAFRL Tier 1 and 2 on Monday and Wednesday night, the guys actually raced in Monaco, and on both occasions, everybody got through turn 1 cleanly. It is possible, just don't get carried away at the start. Of course, at the start, that's when all your competitors are going to be closest to you. That's when you feel you can make up the most positions. Sometimes you see a gap, you go for a gap that you wouldn't have gone for normally. It's just that extra adrenaline at the start of a race before you settle into things. I'm driving with Kev because he's one of the only drivers out on track. Well, he's the only driver not to have set a lap time. Rota also out on track, but I believe he's on an in-lap. Shane and Zero to Pool both on out-laps, looking to improve on those initial runs. Of course, top 10 drivers will go through to Q3. The 5 drivers, well, the 4 drivers are at risk. Of course, Levy is out of the race, or out of qualifying rather. He will take no further part, so that means we'll lose 4 drivers. Currently the 4 drivers at risk are Stoffel, Kev, Will and Nam Assassin. We know those drivers are very capable of getting out of the top 10. So I think P8, P9, P10, watch your back. They're sitting in the pits quite comfortably. Like Levy left and he has rejoined, so hopefully he stays for the start of the race. They've seen quite a distance away now. Enjoy the spectator mode. Enjoy the break. Get your head ready. Starting at the rear of the field, and sometimes that's not always a bad thing. It's a bad thing if you're a slow driver, so that just means the field will pull away from you. If you're a quick driver, starting at the rear isn't always the worst. You do have that domino effect we mentioned earlier at the front. You're far enough behind not to be involved in it. For Shane going over the line, and he goes up into P1. It's a 16.9. I believe that's the first 16 we've seen this evening. It's the quickest lap we've seen this evening, a 16.9. Nothing Nick Gishin can do to respond to that. He's retired from the session. Secret in the pits, next quickest man. Zero to Pool currently in P4, also looking for an improvement. Previous best 17.7. He does improve, it's a 17.1. Just the one driver into the 16s, but now we're getting more and more drivers getting very close to those 16s. And I think we're only going to see more 16s when we get to Q3. Will also into the 117.7s. He joins that club. Also members of that club, Boinkies and Top Gun. Will 17.0, Boinkies. Actually, it's a 17.70, Boinkies 17.71, Top Dog 17.72. 300ths of a second covering 3 cars. What makes it even more insane is lots of times these guys are running different setups to each other, and somehow over the distance of how long is this track? I can't remember. I think it's approximately 5.4 kilometers, something like that. Over a 5.4 kilometer distance, these guys can match each other towards hundredths of a second on what's probably different setups. Correction, it's 5.2 kilometers. Wonkies returning to the pits. 4 minutes remaining. Kurbis takes that time away from Shane, goes 1/10 better. So 16.8. Very nicely done. Kurbis up into provisional pole. Of course, this isn't the session that counts for pole. Just letting everyone know he's a contender for Q3. Pool in the pits, Secret in the pits, as is Boinkies. Top Dog Panda. I knew I was going to get it wrong at some point. Dan Ritfeld, he's on an outlap. Stoffel on an outlap. Kev on an outlap. I think the only man on a quick lap is the RB. The RB of Rota. Now I wonder if Nam Assassin, that was a voluntary retirement, or if he had an incident, just set that lap time of a 1:19.2 and then retired from the session. So that means those two drivers are already confirmed to be eliminated, Nam Assassin and Levy. So leaves just 3 drivers at risk: Rota, Stoffel and Kev. And Rota is no longer needing to worry about that. Just asking what happened to Will. Not entirely sure. I think lots of times what happens is the quicker drivers, if they know it's a safe lap time, if they know they're going through, lots of times they'll set a lap time and they'll simply retire. It's not a crash. It means they will partake in Q3 as long as they stay within the top 10. That's the risk of retiring early. If a bunch of cars improve, there's nothing you can do to respond. Rota in P7, he was at risk of elimination, just got that lap in. Top Dog in P10 will be feeling the pressure, as will this man here, Panda. Just the 1 lap time, 17.8, and you know that should be an impressive lap time. When you look at the gaps in the field, the top 11 are covered by a second. Two Haas drivers, both at risk of elimination. Panda P11, Stoffel P12. Panda on a 17.8, Stoffel on an 18.5, so quite the gap between the two Haas drivers. This is Kev, slowest of the timed drivers so far, looking for an improvement, looking to get higher up the field, somewhere nearer to his teammate would be nice. Dan Ritfeld in P3 with a 17.0, sits in the pits, just a few seconds remain. So the drivers out on track, they'll have one final run. Not for Panda though, he's facing the wrong way. Now he's facing the right way. But he's not going to be able to do much more with this session. He's on the wrong side of the top 10. surprising elimination. Top Dog goes up into P6. And proves at the end, proves he can do a low 17.3. And just says to the rest of the field, take note of that. When you have a look at the difference in the lap times, it's just not fair. Some of the drivers are P8, P9, and when you look at the lap times, they're really impressive lap times. Just the field is so close. 2 or 3 tenths can cost you 5 or 6 positions. There are your results. Bevis, quickest man in Q2, Shane P2. Then we got Dan Redveld, Zero to Cool, Nick Gishin, Top Dog, Sigrid, Rota, Will, and Boinkies. Those are the drivers going through 223 and then eliminated from the session. Panda, Stoffel, Kev, Namassassin, and Levy. Of course, just a reminder to all drivers, a little too late for that because we're going into Q3, but for future reference, if you do choose to voluntarily retire from the session, please remember to do so in the pit garage. We're back looking at the empty pit lane. Of course, now Q3. This is the third and final session of qualifying. This is the important one. This is the one that is going to set the order for the top 10. The top 10 quickest drivers in the field. And of course, being P1 in Q1, being P1 in Q2, it's nice, it looks good, but it doesn't count for pole. This is the session you want to be P1 in. This is where it counts. Shane complaining, the competition is a little too quick. How does it feel, Shane? How does it feel? Imagine you were 2 seconds behind them. Then you'd know how it really feels. Of course, Shane, one of those drivers who likes to refer to other drivers as aliens when he himself is an alien. Lots of drivers on out laps, 9 drivers in fact, of the 10, and now Secret gets out on track as well, so all 10 drivers out on circuit. Of course, as these quali sessions go on and as we lose drivers, it means that when we get to Q3, the risk of traffic gets less and less. Of course, in Q3 we had almost double the cars to deal with, 17 drivers out on track at a stage. Now with just the 10 drivers, you can manage your space on the circuit, make sure you get a good run going onto that main straight, open up DRS and have a go. Of course, with every session, the sessions do get shorter. We started with an 18-minute session, then a 15-minute session. Q3 just 12 minutes. You've got to get out there, you've got to get on with it. Can't sit in the pit lane watching the action. You've got to be part of it. One of the 2 Williams, Zero to Cool. No lap times for anyone just yet. Also got the 2 Aston Martins. Kurbis just looked like he almost got out of shape there. Held on to it nicely. Then Will, his teammate, also just behind him. Top Dog. And then Shane was in the comment section. Now he's in the car. Really quick turnaround that. Dan Rietveld, the only remaining Alpine. The other one has been eliminated. Secret on an outlap, so he's a little behind the rest of the field. And we've had a retirement. Was that a crash? Was that a crash? If anyone can let me know. If anyone has confirmation, was that a crash? Quibus goes up into provisional pole. First lap time of the Q3 session is a 17.3. We've seen quicker than that this evening. How much quicker will we see? 18.6 for Will. Quibus 17.3. Aston Martin front row for now. This is Rota. He will be the next man over the line. Trying to have a look. Where is everybody? This is Secret. He's approaching the end of his lap. Let's see where this lap time can put him. One of the two Red Bulls in Q3. Not often you see two Red Bulls in Q3. Yes, that is a Perez reference. And Secret is definitely not driving like a Perez. That is 16.8. We saw a 16 in Q2. Well, now we've seen a 16.8. That's 1/10 better. Gervis returns to the pits, 17.3. That was his first run. I think we'll also see Will return to the pits, 18.6. He's going to have to go back into the pits, think about what went wrong on that lap, and find a whole bunch of time. This is Rota. He's now approaching the end of his lap. Secret from Quibus, Dan Rietveld into P3. Now Rota over the line. He takes that P3 away from Dan Rietveld. 17.5. Saw a lot of drivers out on track, and then this is Boinkies. Wonder if drivers were abandoning their runs. Just confirmation there that Nick Gishin did in fact crash out of the session. Thought you were maybe just giving yourself a challenge. You wanted to start in P10. Secret returns through the pits. Quibus on an outlap. This will be his second timed run. Just under 6 minutes remaining. Really wish the caution would stop flashing. There we go. F124, that's all we need. A solid caution light. We don't need it to flash. Shane out on track as his top dog, 0 to Pool, Will all on outlaps, Quibus also on an outlap. Wonder if a whole bunch of drivers invalidated their first runs, because we saw a bunch of drivers out on track and then they all returned to the pits. I doubt anybody is trying to prepare a scrubbed set, so I'm not sure what happened there, or if a bunch of drivers just impeded each other. But everybody now on that second run, but that's how quickly Q3 can go by. Remember, you just got the 12 minutes. The first run doesn't go according to plan. You can find yourself like this with 4.5 minutes remaining and you still haven't set a lap time. Puts you in a one-shot quali situation. Some drivers, they'll shine when the pressure is applied. Other drivers, that's where the mistakes come. Zero to Pool. No lap time yet, but he's just gone purple in sector 2, so keep your eyes on the Williams. He's able to stitch the rest of the lap together as he did there. Then he may go quickest. I thought I saw something on the screen. I'm not going to say anything until I can confirm it. Surely not. There we go. That's just confirmation. We've officially got a raindrop on the camera lens. So it is raining, which means nobody's going to be able to improve really. Of course the track isn't wet just yet. No need for inters. Probably still a bit of grip out there, but things are going to start getting slippery in certain corners, and probably 2 or 3 laps from now you won't be able to be on circuit anymore. Just 3 laps to go, 3 minutes to go rather. Well, just in case you wanted to know why I said lap, look at the top left of your screen. It says lap 2 minutes 40. What does that mean? I'm not sure. Now over 100 races on this channel, so for somebody who's been in the comms box a whole lot, I don't think I've ever seen that. Instead of saying time remaining, it says lap. So Shane using too much of that outside curb, so taking a shortcut over the grass. I think this lap's definitely invalidated. Secret has retired. How much time is left in the session we can't see because the caution is solid over the time remaining. I'll just go away for a second so I can see how much time is left in the session. There we go. Well, now I can't stop looking at it. Lap 1 minute 30. So that means 1 minute 30 left in this session. Shane got a lap time in and he's retired. 1:17.0. Obviously not enough time to get back out there, and is there really a point? The track is just going to get worse and worse. Dan Rickfeldt still out on track. Top Dog still out on track. Those are the only 2 cars attempting this circuit on the slick tyre. Just 10 minutes to go. I think we'll just see both these drivers peel off into the pits. Top Dog has retired. Don't know if he retired in the pits. We didn't see that. No, he has retired on track. You can see him there in sector 2. So I wonder if that was a crash. But again, just a reminder to the drivers, if you do choose a voluntary retirement, please do so in your pit garage. I'm not sure what happened to Nick Gishin. He is in the comment section, so you can ask him, but he did confirm to me that he crashed at the beginning of quali. So he crashed before he could set any form of lap time, which means he'll be starting in P10. Here are your results. Secret takes pole position, 16.8, the only driver in the 16s. Of course, Shane got one as well, but that was in Q2. Then Curvis joins him on the front row. Shane in P3, Boyke's P4, Zero to Pool and Rota 5 and 6. Then 7 and 8, Dan Ridfeldt, Top Dog. And then Will and Nick Gishin as a result of that crash. Of course, we saw rain at the end of that quali session. How will that translate into the race? Will we see any rain in the race, or will it be blue skies? Of course, we're soon going to find that out. Sorry about that, my mic's being a little annoying. So the final time this evening, we look down the empty Albert Park pit lane. This time, we don't wait for cars to come out of the garage. All of the cars are to the left of the screen. They are on the pit straight, finishing up their strategies, deciding what tyre to start on, deciding if they're going to risk underfueling in anticipation of a safety car. And of course, when it comes to setup, pretty much all of it is locked in. Just a few adjustments you can make. Thought Levy would be starting further down the order, but he's actually going to be starting in P14, regardless of that 5 grid place penalty. I'm not sure how that worked out. He was in P15 at the end of Q2, and he's gone up into P14 with a penalty. The game has interesting ways of working things out. Sometimes it's even more mysterious than the FIA. Grid. He's going to start from pole position. Of course, in 2024 at the Australian Grand Prix, a Red Bull did start from pole position. That was Max Verstappen, although he did not go on to win the race. Carlos Sainz went on to win the Australian Grand Prix. Just a quick read down your field so you know everybody that is here in the session. Some of them would have been knocked out in Q1, so just a reminder, the entire field: Sigrid, Kurbis, Shane, Boinkies, Zero to Cool, Rota, Dan Redfeld, Top Dog, Will, Nick Gishin, Panda, Stoffel, Nam Assassin, Lebby, Fuster, Cowboy, and Kev. That is a lot of drivers. Not the best camera angles for some reason in F124 at the start of the race. It usually corrects itself after a few seconds, but while they're sitting on the grid, really don't get the best camera angle. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go on board with one of the drivers at the front. We'll go on board with Kurbis, the man in P2. Looking to get a jump on the leader early on. There are your red lights. There's going to be 5 of them. They're going to disappear. And then all of these drivers, they're going to disappear. Not the best start for Kurbis. Loses a position. Loses 2. Shane goes by. Zero to Cool goes by. Means Kurbis is down into P4 now. He'll want to get his head down, get into the race. Doesn't want to lose any more positions than that. Just behind him, Dan Ritfeld, followed by Poinkies. Top Dog, P7, Nick Gishin, P8. He's already made up 2 positions since the start of the race. Then we've got Will, P9. Panda, making up the top 10 for now. Then we've got Rota, P11, followed by Stoffel, Nam Assassin, Kev, Fuster, Cowboy, and Levy. Well, he is in P17. Thought that's where he was going to start. Well, that's where he's landed up. Let's have a look at that Ferrari. Is there any sort of damage? Because he seems to be trailing the field. Well, if you needed evidence of damage, that's a lot of damage. No way they can recycle that front wing. That front wing is very broken. Shane makes a mistake, goes too wide, visits the gravel, and when he re-emerges, finds himself in P4. to drive in a field that is so evenly matched. Just feel the pressure lap after lap. If you watched the race last night, saw a race in Monaco between Panda and Logic, where Logic consistently for about 30 laps did everything he couldn't find a way past. That's the sort of pressure you need to be able to absorb when you're driving with a handful of drivers that are just as quick as you. Currently have 6 viewers on the stream, and we have 6 likes on the stream, so thank you to everybody who's watching. The likes are really important, make a big difference. Means our videos will show up on more timelines and more people will get to see what we do here. Secret leads the way, 0 to cool. Sort of lost touch with him pretty early on. 1.5 seconds is the gap, so that DRS has been broken very early on in the race. 0 to cool. He's got a 1 second gap himself down to Curvis. The top 3 starting to spread out. Dan Ritfeld P4, Top Dog P5. Don't know what happened to the Ferrari. The Ferrari's gone back in the field. Boinky's P6, Will P7. Then we have Panda, and this is the Ferrari I was speaking of. Doesn't appear to have damage because he's all over the back of a Haas and he's attacking. Thought about going up the inside, then thought better of it. Tucks in behind the Haas again for one of the quickest sections of this circuit. And now he's going to line him up, take the position with the help of DRS, and at least reclaim one of those positions that he has lost. Sorry about that, no idea what the mic is doing. So, Secret still leads the way, 0 to 2 on Curvis. For a second looked like they were trading places. I wonder if there was some sort of an incident. But Curvis loses a few positions, goes down to P4. Looked like he was getting ready to challenge the Williams, Dan Ritfeld. Saw him just get his slide on there in the Alpine. It looks really cool. Sometimes it feels really cool when you save it. Looks really cool when you save it. It feels really scary when it starts to go. Dan Ritfeld, that gap, he had a gap to 0 to 2 of a second. It's come down to 0.6 of a second, and we just saw him lock up there. So I wonder if he's starting to feel the pressure. Bringing up your tyre screen for the start of the race. Majority of the field appear to have started on the medium compound. Just the 3 runners going with something slightly different. Boinky's Rotor Panda, those 3 drivers going on the hard. And well folks, I don't think we got one last night. We have a safety car. Of course, the last time we saw a safety car on this channel was on Monday night, and we saw lots of them. I'm looking up and down the field for who is responsible for this full safety car. I don't see any DNFs, don't see any greyed out drivers. I just see Nam Assassin quite far behind the field. Sometimes It's really annoying, but I have seen it in the past where safety cars simply get triggered because somebody's on the grass for a little too long. Still doesn't appear to have any retirements. In fact, there's the man at the back of the field, Nam Assassin, and he's definitely still very much in this race. So we started with 17, we still have 17, but we're under a full safety car. Obviously this will give everybody who didn't have a fantastic race start another opportunity. Gaps were starting to form early on in the race. This will just blows everything up. Secret has now officially caught up to the safety car. So an Aston Martin leads the way from a Red Bull. Not the Aston Martin that counts anyway, but technically an Aston Martin is leading a Red Bull. Of course, this neutralizes everything. Some drivers would have utilized it for a pit stop. But as for the drivers who don't have any damage, started on those mediums, they're not going to come into the pits because those mediums haven't done their job yet. Of course, the safety car will also potentially extend the life of those tires and probably go a lap or two further than you initially planned. What this also does is if you haven't slightly under fueled, you could have a pretty heavy car at the end of the race, because every lap you spend behind the safety car, you don't consume anywhere near the same amount. Just a good opportunity for everybody to have their ERS on 100%, get their heads back into the race. Of course, if you're the leader and everything was going right, this will just be annoying. If you didn't get a fantastic start, this gives you that second opportunity. As for the drivers who got damaged and had to pit on lap 1, we'll bring them back to the back of the queue. Much better than being 20 seconds adrift from the rest of your opponents. It just gives everybody a second opportunity. That's the best thing about an early safety car. The only frustrating thing about a safety car is it's a lot more entertaining when the safety car comes at the end of the race. Well, unless you're a Mercedes fan in 2021, then a safety car at the end of the race is absolutely what you don't want. Of course, we're in season 11 of DRS, round 3, early days in the championship. That's right, Fuster, comment there, Fuster up into the points. Yes, he is, P9. There's our confirmation, safety car will be in this lap. So immediately Secret will begin to back up that field, let the safety car pull off into the distance so you can get into the pits. Once that safety car gets into the pits, Secret is in control of this field. He basically becomes the safety car till the start finish line. There can be no racing until Secret decides there can be racing, and of course there can be no overtakes until the start finish line. And that is something quite important to remember here in Albert Park, because the start finish line comes a lot later down the straight than on other tracks. Secret over the line. There is that start finish line. So even if you do get a good start around that final corner, you can't make any overtakes. You just got to sit with him. We start from Secret, 0.6 of a second already. Then we have Dan Ritfeldt in P2 in the Alpine. So it's cool P3. Top dog. He's made up some serious positions in this race. He's up to P4, then Poinky's P5, Rota P6, Stoffel P7. Ooh, and as I say that, we've got a caution flashing up on our screens, and hopefully that's all it will be, but that was a pretty nasty crash. We had a full safety car activated for no retirement, and now it appears we have no safety car activated for a big crash. Still don't see anybody. There we go. That's the RB. Thought that crash was bigger than that, but he has managed to get the car underway, but still have a caution. No sign of a safety car though. Dan Ritfeldt, since taken over the lead of the race, the Cutsiker was starting to get away as he did at the start. Must have made some sort of an error. Now the Alpine is the new leader of the race. DRS enabled, lap 9 of 29. Of course we had a safety car, and now we're back underway. No retirements on the screen. We have seen quite the crash. Didn't trigger a safety car though. Didn't even trigger a retirement. Cautions constantly popping up on the screen. Remember, don't be alarmed. Sometimes that's just a driver getting the wheel on the grass. Nothing serious. If it hangs around for a little too long, could always be a safety car. Nick Gishin picks up a penalty, 3 seconds added next to his name. I think the same story goes for Shane. Sure about the Shane incident. It is a track limits incident. I see he's done a pit stop, so I thought it might be related to the pit stop. Of course, the penalties are a lot more harsh on F124 related to pit penalties. If you're caught speeding into the pit lane, no longer will you get a 5-second penalty, you now get a 10-second penalty. So you don't want any penalty infringements relating to your pit stops. Times have we seen on this channel that penalties can decide a race, penalties can decide a podium. You just want to keep out of those penalty columns for as long as you possibly can, and if you do get a penalty, try to stick to just the one. Shane has gone up to, there we go, confirmation, Shane has just gone up to 6 seconds. Makes it really difficult in your race. Now you no longer just have to be ahead to win the race, you need to be 6 seconds ahead to win the race. And of course, that applies to any other position you're in. If you're holding on to P3, with a 6-second penalty, you could lose that podium. You're just holding on to that final point in P10, that penalty could take that point away from you. Stay out of the penalties column, or at least keep them to a very bare minimum. Dan Ritfeldt has been able to hold on to the lead since he took it. Secret in P2 hasn't been able to come back at the Alpine. He is within DRS range. We know that since the modifications were made to this circuit, a lot more DRS opportunity, but nothing from the Red Bull driver just yet to suggest he's going to do anything crazy. Happy to follow for now. So it's cool P3, top dog, doing a good job in P4. He's been able to maintain that position. We've got both Red Bulls in the top 4 positions. That would be good points on the evening if they were able to finish in that order. Then we've got Poinky's P5. Panda. He's got a bit of a queue behind him, and that queue is looking to break. First driver to get past Panda is Shane. He goes up into P6, and that would be a much better P6 if he doesn't have the penalties. A little further back in the field, Will in the final points paying position, P10. He's going to have his hands full, holding on to that position. Some pretty quick drivers behind him. Kev, P11, Nick Gishin driving way out of position in P12. Who knows quicker than that? He's actually coming into the pits. So I think this is going to be a roll of the dice. Maybe jump onto the hards. How far can those hards take you? And he does. He jumps onto the hards. And if anyone knows in the comment section, can we go to the end on hards? Would that be too much of a stretch? We just had a disqualification. I didn't catch what that was for, but we've had a disqualification. Nam Assassin gets a DSQ. We haven't had a DNF, but we've had a DSQ. We're down to 16 runners. The field here at the front, just so close together. I thought it was a safety car for a second. But trading places. Now Zero to Cool takes over at the top of the race. Zero to Cool, Dan Ritfeld and Top Dog. Those are your top three. Boinkies in P4. We've got a multi-spin. That was a Red Bull as well as an Alpine, I believe. Rather a Haas. One Red Bull, one Haas. Spins all over the place. Nick Gishin adds another 3-second penalty to the screen. Shane has made his way up into P3, so he's definitely got the pace on those hards. Just 7 laps on the hards. You got those under the first safety car, or at least under the only safety car. Now he's having a really good stint, second stint to the race. But every time he looks up at his timing sheets, he's just going to get annoyed. 6 seconds. Can still work with 3. 6 is a little rough. Another man with 6 seconds worth of penalties is Nick Gishin. And Stoffel and Cowboy, they have 3 apiece. Those are the 4 drivers with penalties so far. Fuster has come into the pits from P16. So he'll be hoping for another safety car so he can catch up to this queue, or at least make his job much easier. Catching up to the queue on your own. It's going to be a tough one. Big lock-up from the Alpine, and then immediately comes into the pits. Dan Ritfeld into the pits on aging mediums. Those were 12 laps old. He's had enough of that, and he's let Shane go into the lead of this race. Boinky's P2. Now between the two leaders, Shane and Boinky's. Boinky's does have the slightly older tyres, got about 5 laps extra age on those hards, so Shane should have the slight advantage. Then we've got Purvis in P3. You can see the Aston Martin right there, and he's being chased by the other Ferrari. Remember, the one Ferrari had a absolute nightmare in qualifying. To start right at the rear of the field. Now he's up into P4. Definitely a candidate for driver of the day. Remember, to all the drivers, top 3 drivers as well as driver of the day are invited to join the cool down room for a interview / chat after the race. Of course, everybody watching more than welcome to stay. Shane leads the way from Boinkies and Purvis, but Shane is not really opening up the gap, or is he? Just over a second, so I think he's crucially broken DRS. Actually, Boinky still has DRS, so he went over that DRS line just before he broke the second barrier. If he gets DRS one more time, he'll be desperately holding on to it. Now it's 9/10, it's 1 second, it's just balancing. Shane trying to break the DRS. It's going to be a lot easier to pull a gap once that car isn't getting a tow from you. And he has broken it now. It's 1.3 seconds and we have a caution. A virtual safety car has been called. Hopefully that's all it is. I've seen in the past on this game, sometimes it says virtual safety car, but a safety car comes out on track. There's no evidence of that right now. No evidence of a safety car out on track, so just the virtual. That means everybody needs to slow down to an average speed. That will allow them to stay within a delta that's on their screen. Of course, if you go out of that delta and you stay out of that delta, you will get a penalty. Do have cars utilizing the virtual safety car. Of course, it's not as effective as a full safety car, where drivers really have to slow down. The drivers are, like I mentioned, they are driving at an average speed. They're not driving at full speed, which means if you do choose to make a pit stop, those guys aren't getting the advantage they should. So they're driving around, cruising slowly around the track. You get a benefit when you pit under a safety car or a virtual, and that virtual seems to have come to an end. So the guys that did get to use it, really just depends where you are on circuit when it comes out. If you're near the pit entry and you can make the quick decision, but if you've just passed the start finish line, well, you're probably not going to get much use of that virtual safety car. So by the end of the lap, it'll be gone. Shane leads the way. Gap is 1.1 seconds. It went up to 1.3 briefly, but Poinkies has responded, trying to close it back up, get it back within DRS. Remember, Poinkies' tyres, Shane's tyres, both a set of hards. Shane 5 laps fresher. Man in P3, well, he's got the freshest hards, just 4 laps. There's 15 seconds adrift from these two, so he's got a lot of work to do in what will probably be his final stint, his final planned stop. Of course, I say planned stop. If you find yourself with a broken wing, then you're going to have to go in there when you really don't want to. Second of the two Haas, both Haas outside the points at the moment. Panda P11, Stoffel P12. I'll be looking for something to swing around for them in this race. We did have a full safety car at the start of the race, early on in the race rather. Well, we have one in the late stages of the race. I mentioned earlier on, when they come in the late stages, they're a lot more interesting. But if you have penalties, you'll be cursing me right now for even having that thought. Of course, if you do have multiple penalties, what the safety car does at the end of the race, it brings the field all together, and then with so few laps to go, the field isn't able to spread out. And instead of losing a position or two due to penalties, you'll lose a handful. We've had a retirement, and we're back under virtual safety car. This Poinkies. Just so the viewers don't think I'm crazy, I said under the last virtual safety car that sometimes it says virtual safety car and then a safety car appears on track. You can see it there on the track map. There's a yellow stationary car in sector 1. Now, is that just the game being silly, or is there a safety car out there? Shane leads the way, 2.5 seconds. He'll be very grateful if it's not a full safety car. He's actually been able to extend that gap under the virtual safety car. It's 2.4 seconds. What happens with that delta is it does allow you quite a bit of leeway, and if you're really on top of it, you can actually make up time. If you find yourself napping, you could lose a lot of time. Shane comes into the pits, and again, from our perspective, from the commentator's perspective, and from what you can see at home, I see a virtual safety car. Trying to get evidence of it's an awfully long virtual safety car. We're just gonna have to wait and see. I'm playing the guessing game. There we go. Confirmation. Thought I saw it. Took a while. Thought I was going crazy. But it is indeed a full safety car. You can see the Aston Martin back out on track. For some reason, our screens say something very different. It's lap 19 of 29. Shane utilised that safety car, came into the pits, put on a brand new set of mediums. Now with only a few laps to go, he can really throw those mediums around, give it everything. Most important thing for him is to keep that lead at the restart. If he falls back into the field with 6 seconds worth of penalties, it's not going to help him. He needs to get away at the front and minimize the damage caused by those penalty issues. I'm sure the drivers wish they could serve those penalties in the pits, but unfortunately those are only for the pit lane related penalties. If you get a track limits infringement, it just gets added onto the end of the race. Seems like the safety car is going to be out for at least one more lap. So we have some cars at the rear of the field trying to catch up. Rota, he's going to make the late pit stop. Of course, we're under safety car. This is what I mean. These cars would be flying around here. They're not going at top speed. It just allows you to get out of the pits. It almost worked. Did he stay in front? I think he did. Yes, he did. Was able to hold on to that position. It's the difference it makes pitting under a safety car. Guys can't drive as quickly as they would like to. Shane in the lead Ferrari, the other Ferrari down in P6. He started right at the rear of the field. Saw him in P17 in the early stages. Made his way to the top 6. Candidate for driver of the day. We may have 4 drivers in the cool down room. Unless Lebby is able to join those top 3. And there we go, we finally get safety car confirmation. And that's probably because the safety car is coming in this lap. We started with 17 runners, we've lost 2 of them. 1 to a DNF, 1 to a disqualification. That was Nam Assassin. now hopefully for the final restart to this race. Shane will lead the way one more time. Zero to Cool P2, Secret P3. We have Quibus and Levy, no penalties for those 5 drivers. We've got Nick Gishin in P7, he's got 6 seconds next to his name. Will P8, Panda P9, Dan Ritfeld, the last of the drivers in the points. Top Dog gets a 3-second penalty, and I think we have an addition to the penalties column, or did he already have penalties? That is an addition to the penalties column. So now 5 drivers with penalties out on circuit. A safety car is the worst thing that can happen. Now lots of trading for places, difficult to even see what's going on. Will looking for a position on Panda, I believe it was, and he made that position. Panda attacking the Aston Martin wanting the position back. Of course, every single point in the early stages of the championship now Will picks up a 3-second penalty, and things are getting messy. We went up to 5 drivers having penalties not so long ago, and now we're up to 6 drivers almost immediately. That's what happens in the final stages of the race. Panda briefly thought about the inside. There's parts of this circuit you don't want to tempt fate. Barriers are pretty close, often not considered a street circuit, though the park is indeed partially a street circuit. Some of the track is purpose built, but a lot of Sector 3 is used for traffic during the year. Of course, this circuit took over from another famous Australian street circuit, that was Adelaide. Much more challenging circuit than this. Kev has left the session. That was a car that had retired from the race. Shane sets the fastest lap for the race, and what a time to do it. He's actually built up a gap of 3 seconds. So he's got 6 laps to go, and if he can keep up this momentum, if he can keep up this pace, he may cancel out the damage those penalties have done. Top 3 at the moment: Shane, Sigrid, and Zero to Cool. Further back in the field, Levy, he was making up some serious ground, but now finds himself in P6 and finds himself a little stuck. He's in a DRS train. Can't rely on the drivers ahead having penalties, because drivers ahead don't have penalties. He's just got put past Quibus briefly. That was on the outside, so Quibus may come back at him. He does not, and Levy makes up a position, goes up into P5. Still very deep in a DRS train. Poinkies, Zero to Cool, Secret. That is the DRS train. Shane has broken away up the road 4.2 seconds, and that is the worst thing that could have happened. That is the worst thing that could have happened if you had penalties, because effectively there's almost no way you can hold on to your position. Hopefully this will be a quick and straightforward safety car. Hopefully the field is not too spread out, and we can get underway as soon as possible. This has now been the 3rd safety car in the race. We had one in the early stages, we had one in the closing stages, and we thought that would be the one for the closing stages. Now we've had a second even later on in the race. Shane was getting away at the front. Looked like he was going to cancel out those 6 seconds worth of penalties. Had a 4.2 second advantage. Safety car came out. Now this has thrown everything back up into the air. Provisionally, on the timing sheets, the Red Bull is the leader of this race. Of course, there will be a few laps at the end here where you can potentially grow the gap a little. He will be at the front of that restart. How much can he do in the 2 or 3 laps we'll have at the end of this? Of course, I've said it in many of my streams, almost all of my streams. The safety car safe zone. That is when we get 3 laps to the end. That would have been lap 26, but we didn't make it to lap 26. And here we are, under the 3rd safety car of the evening. Shane leads the way. He's going to be in charge of the final restart this evening. Really, there's a lot more drivers. We're focusing on the Ferrari because it's at the front of the field, but there's a lot more drivers that have penalties. Nick Kishan, obviously 6 seconds of his own. Just bring up that screen just to confirm things. In fact, Nick Kishan has added another 3 seconds to his name, so he's up to 9. And then we have 3 seconds apiece for Will, Top Dog, Stoffel and Cowboy. And so all of those drivers that I just mentioned, if they intend on holding on to the position they see next to their name, they need a 3-second advantage to the car behind, or they will simply fall down the field as the cars behind cross the start-finish line. Terrible feeling to go over the line, be happy with your position, and suddenly see it drop. Sometimes you just wish it would stop dropping, and it just continues. The field is too close. Safety car starts to flash, and that usually means confirmation that the safety car is coming in this lap. And there we go, Shane already weaving around, backing up the field one last time, lap 25 of 29. When he goes over the line, there'll only be 3 laps remaining. So we can have no more safety cars. This will be the final chapter, the final 3 laps, a 3-lap sprint to the end. So bring up the tyre situation. Not too much a change, not any of those drivers at the top of the field utilise the safety car for any sort of pit stop. Do see drivers at the rear of the field that used it for a pit stop, jump into the softs, maybe hoping to steal a few points at the end of the race, but the Ferrari out front is followed by a Red Bull, Secret, then Zero to Cool, that's your top 3, Boinky's P4, Levy P5. Levy, well, he's already involved in a bit of a train. I was going to say he had a train behind him, but that's not true. 4 wide. That is insanity. We just saw 4 cars going wide. I suppose that's why the track was modified. Now 3 wide. Panda backs out of that battle, decides to tuck in between the other 2. The track was modified for exactly this. For more wheel-to-wheel racing, for more overtakes. I've got to say they've done a good job. We've got a car that's gone off sideways. I think that's a Williams. Is it a Williams? I'm not sure if that was a Williams. Don't see anybody falling down the field dramatically. Of course, we can't have any more safety cars. Don't see any DNF. So I suppose that driver got going again. sure who that was. Looked like a blue car. But we didn't quite catch it. This is Panda in P5. Good points on the table. Good position on the table, especially with the leader. Ooh, Shane almost getting it out of shape. As we got on board with that car, we just saw it squirm at the back when he was awfully close to a wall on the inside. Things could have ended very badly. Obviously he's giving it absolutely everything. Even if he can't open up a 6-second gap, he wants to open that gap as much as possible to minimize the damage. If he wins the race by a couple of tenths, well, he could fall off the podium. That's what he's trying to avoid. Gap between the Ferrari and the Red Bull, 2.4 seconds. Got a caution on our screen, then 0 to cool P3. He's followed by the other Ferrari, but not for much longer. Levy thought he was about to lose that position to Will, but held on to it. He's trying to get up the road, catch that Red Bull. He's not able to do that because he's being harassed by an Aston Martin. And now the Aston Martin surely goes to the inside. Levy says no once more. He's going to have the inside line to the next corner, and he holds on to it. The Aston Martin's going to get DRS. Surely there's not much he can do when that happens. He's defending for all he's worth. Of course, defending works in Monte Carlo. It doesn't always work. On other circuits, DRS way too much of a factor. And there we go, side by side up the inside. Will takes P4. But crucially, Will does have penalties next to his name at the front. 3.4 seconds is the gap. So unless he found a ridiculous amount, he's not going to be able to find 2.5 seconds in the final lap, surely. Shane will go over the line to start lap 29 of 29, 0 to cool, P2. He doesn't want to make any mistakes. He wants to keep within that 6 seconds. He's got no penalties next to his name. It's been a clean race, it's been a clean run. Secret. He'll also be aware of Shane's penalties, and he'll know that getting P2 here is a potential win. So he's going to be all over the back of the Williams. Both of those cars have no penalties next to their names, so this is a race on track and not in the timing sheets. Secret doesn't look close enough for now. That can be deceiving. DRS so powerful around this circuit. Just look at that. Look how he's being pulled in by the Williams ahead. Powerful DRS zones here in Australia. Make it very difficult for the defending driver, and now the Red Bull does go to the inside, but he isn't able to get it stopped. We've seen that many times. Just battle of the late breakers, and that was a little too late. Wasn't able to get it stopped. Luckily for him, he didn't go off track, just got himself on that outside curb. And 0 to cool was able to come right back at him. Here we go. That is why Shane was doing all the hard work at the end. Knew he couldn't open up a 6-second gap, but the bigger the gap the better, so he's been able to hold on to the podium. Top 3, 0 to cool, Secret and Shane. And then we have the second Ferrari, Levy. What a race he had. Panda, P5. And then this is Will in the first of the two Aston Martins. Panda gets the driver of the day. And if you're wondering why you can't hear the game, it's because it has to be muted for YouTube reasons. So 0 to Pool takes the victory. Secret P2. Shane could have won the race, but as a result of those penalties, finishes in P3, takes the fastest lap, so he'll get 16 points out of this round. Then Lebby P4, Panda P5, Will P6, Pointy's in P7. We didn't see a lot of him. Dan Ritfeld P8, Rota P9, and Quibus taking that final point. No points tonight for Top Dog P11, Stoffel P12. Then Nick Gishin, those penalties really hurt him. 9 of them. He finishes P13, and Cowboy was the last of your runners, P14. For some reason, the results are showing us 3 DNFs, but in fact, Fuster and Kev were DNFs, and Nam Assassin was a disqualification. Of course, now we will take a minute or two. We'll wait for the drivers. Some drivers will choose to join the cool down room. Others are a little shy of the mic. So we'll just see who shows up and then we'll bring them into the comms box. Have a little word about the race. There we go. Let me just disable that so I can actually read the names on my screen. So it appears we have Panda. We also have Shane. Can bring them into the comments box so long, and if anybody else joins, we'll take it from there. There we go. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Good stuff. So we've got Panda and we've got Shane. Let me just see if there's anyone else in the cool down room. No. Shane, how was that? A little bit frustrating at the end there.
Yeah, that last safety car stuffed me up quite a bit, but I did it to myself. First lap, I got 3 seconds penalty on the first lap. Yeah,
Did you get did you get the warnings, or was it just straight off penalty?
No, but 3 warnings on the first lap.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
no, that's not the way to start. Well, you're lucky considering you only finished with 6 then.
Yeah. Definitely.
Panda, driver of the day. Tell us a little bit about your race.
Yeah, look, it was way too many incidents. Q2, I stuffed up my last running lap, so yeah, I guess that's where the bad luck started for this race.
You seem to find yourself in the comms box a lot. Just
Yeah,
quick.
I think so. I think it's every week.
I think
he's
rigged the driver of the day if he doesn't get on the podium. But
exactly.
no, it was obviously a good race. There was a lot of incidents. We saw 3 safety cars. If you were watching the stream, you would have seen the second safety car was a bit confusing because for some reason it said virtual safety car on our screens. But yeah, 3 safety cars and just a little too much. Shane, your race was going in the right direction. You had a 4.2 second gap when that safety car came out. So
yeah.
But
I think I might have had enough time to get the 6 second gap. The mediums felt good. I mean, I did like 9 laps on mediums.
And look, the gap was increasing, and it was on 4.2. I think it could have been on 6 in the next 3 laps, so at least. But yeah, they were spent cruising behind the Aston Martin.
Yep.
As for JPR tomorrow night, Shane, where are we racing? I should probably go do a few laps.
I almost forgot Spain. We are at Spain.
We're racing in Barcelona tomorrow night, so obviously that's JPR. Unfortunately, it's not broadcast because I want to have at least one drive a week. But I'm going to end the stream. To everybody who watched, to everybody who joined, thank you very much. we've got more likes than we
Just
have
John,
viewers. So well done.
before you end it, just to let everybody know that Jono is in the leading constructor team at JPR.
Yeah, I saw those championship results, but unfortunately, I think we've got a few too many drivers tomorrow night, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to be in the points. That's why I wanted to know what track it was, because I'm actually going to try and do some laps tomorrow afternoon. So,
Yeah, cool.
yes, I'll finally do some practice like halfway through the season. But until next time, until SKR on Sunday night, this channel's going to take a bit of a break, and we'll see you then. Thanks for joining. Thanks for the likes. And we've got a few extra subscriptions, so thanks for that too. To everyone watching, cheers.
It's up. Thanks, gents. Cheers.